See, I got me an idea, and I'ma put it to work, and I'ma gauge my progress by the sign of the word. Now I ain't yet a success, but yes, the word that I stress, cause by the time you hear the CD,
this is our time to shine. Move from the darkness to the light. Let's take a stand, do all we can. Try to hold on till the end. This is our time to shine. Through all the struggles we'll survive. Let's take a stand, do all we can. Try to hold on. Ha ha! Yeah, I'm feeling it right now. And you already know who it is. This is Pablo Rivera, and this is another edition of Make It Happen Mondays. Yo, listen, it's Martin Luther King Day, right? So I wanted to come across today with a Martin Luther King Day-esque type of topic, right? But I don't want to come with the same old, and that's kind of disrespectful, I guess, to be like same old. But I think you're gonna understand what I mean, right? Is like the commercialism of Martin Luther King Day, right? Or the generic of Martin Luther King Day is I have a dream, right? And like, I ain't saying that's not impactful, right? But I feel like that's all people really focus on is that I have a dream. And then everything else is kind of lost, right? So what I wanted to do is I wanted to take it from a different angle today. You feel me? I wanted to take it from the angle of the things that he said, right? Because obviously, great man, great thought process, great leadership, great everything, right? But he also had to look within himself, right? To empower himself. I mean, listen, if you think it was easy to be Martin Luther King, you need to go back in the history books, you know what I'm saying, and read about it, you know what I mean? Because it just was not, you know what I'm saying? So today, that's what we're going to do, right? But before I get into it, let me say this. This is the day that the Lord has made, and I have decided to rejoice and be glad in it, right? So let's get into it, right? The first quote that I'm going to start with Martin Luther King is this. Everybody can be great. Because anybody can serve. You don't have to have a college degree to serve. You don't have to make your subject and verb agree to serve. You only need a heart full of grace, a soul generated by love. I don't know how many of y'all heard that. Obviously, some of y'all did, right? But again, I'm trying to dig in the crates, right? To go back to my hip hop terminology, right? And find stuff that's not necessarily mainstream speeches, right? And maybe to some of y'all these are, right? But to me, it was not, you know what I mean? So I like this because, you know what I'm saying? A lot of times people be sitting there and measuring their greatness off of like degrees and stuff that they have, you know what I mean? Like, oh, I went to college, so automatically that makes me, you know what I'm saying? And I ain't knocking anything about college. I ain't knocking anything about college degrees or education as a whole. I actually think that you should be in a constant pursuit of further education. You know what I'm saying? But that's not required to be a good person. That's not required for greatness. You see what I'm saying? So let's just think about that for a second. You don't need a college degree to serve. If you see somebody who needs some help them. You know what I'm saying? If you see somebody who's maybe having a bad day, it doesn't take $1 million to walk up to somebody and be like, hey, how are you? You know what I'm saying? Now, don't do no generic how are you? You know what I'm saying? Like, hey, how are you? Good. Okay, and then you move on to the next thing. Sometimes people don't even be stopping to listen to the answer of, hey, how are you? You know what I'm saying? Let's turn a new leaf here. Don't ask how are you unless you're willing to listen. You know what I'm saying? I do. A lot of times when I be going to grocery stores, right? I'll be like, hey, how you doing? And they're just like, would you like any bags? I'm like, yo, what? How are you? You know what I'm saying? Like, I actually care. They don't know that. You know what I mean? And I understand. I get it because most of the time people don't care. It's literally a figure of speech. How you doing? All right, check this out. I got this, And it's like, dang, you know what I mean? So you can serve. And if everything it is that we do, we serving somebody else, and everybody else is the same way serving somebody else, ain't nobody really gonna need anything. You know what I mean? I'm gonna dip into this real quick and then dip right out of it. You know what I mean? Because a lot of times people be like, all these social service programs, they're ridiculous. We shouldn't do that. We should be helping each other. Let me tell you something. Usually rules or laws that come into place are coming into place because either somebody did something wrong or people just ain't doing stuff. You know what I mean? So back in the day, we used to have churches and other local organizations, VFWs, Boy Scouts of America, all these things. And I ain't saying that they ain't around now, but they were very much focused on helping out the community. I remember there was people on the block who used to help out the community. You know what I'm saying? So, hey, listen, if we ain't like in social programs that are instituted and implemented and ran by the government, you know what I mean? Maybe we should start doing some of the same, right? And perhaps we ain't necessarily looking to do no monumental changes like legislation and stuff like that, right? But man, we can definitely make a difference within our own communities. You know what I mean? So let's dig in a little bit and do that, right? Second quote for today: change does not roll in on wheels of inevitability, but comes through continuous struggle, right? And that's what I'm talking about, right? Now, I understand that Martin Luther King was talking about the change in the world, you know what I'm saying? But I almost want to not dumb it down, but I want to bring it down to a more practical sense within us. You see what I'm saying? Is that change within ourselves, change in our current situation, change in anything it is that we're looking for change. It doesn't just boop, boop, boop. It's not magic. It don't just happen. You see what I'm saying? We need to be the catalyst of that change. It's not just going to roll in. And by the way, it will be a continuous struggle. You see what I'm saying? So just know that. Know that. You know what I mean? And imagine trying to roll that up a hill. What Martin Luther King did. Freedom, equality, civil liberties, like in that time frame. You see what I'm saying? Now boil that down to him and imagine the internal struggles that he went through to be able to come up with the courage, to be able to have the alignment of his mind and his thoughts and his actions. And you know, people sometimes, oh, well, you know, he did this and he did that. I understand that. He wasn't Jesus Christ. You know what I'm saying? The man had flaws, but man, the impact that he made was positive. And that I love that he had flaws, because we can see it is a struggle, right? And that change is not just coming in and whoop, 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 easy. You know what I mean? So not only was he trying to change the world, he was also trying to make sure that he was an example. And he fell short sometimes, you know what I mean? Just like I fall short, just like you fall short. And I don't believe, I know for a fact, I haven't made no Martin Luther King's type impact, you know what I mean? To that level or that degree. I'd love to, and hopefully this type of thing allows me to be able to get myself closer to that type of impact, to be able to help people, you know what I mean? But that changes will come through continuous struggle. So think about it. What are you continually struggling with? Or what is it that you're not struggling with because you ain't really doing anything to change it, right? Start putting in the work, because that is when the change will happen and you'll see the change happen in your life, right? Now, with that change, like I just said, struggle, right? So what is that struggle that happens? Well, the struggle is because when you start to try to do something, it don't just happen like that, right? So that comes with a whole bunch of failure. With that failure comes disappointment. Now, you always heard me say that I don't really believe in failure. I believe in learning and all that stuff, but I get it, right? To be able to use like terms that we can all understand and all agree, right? If you try to do this and it didn't happen, you look at that immediate reaction to what your action was as a failure, right? But check this out. Third quote: we must accept finite disappointment. I'm gonna stop right there. I ain't finished the quote, right? But we must accept finite disappointment. If y'all don't know what finite, right? Check it out. This is the way I remember it, right? You know what I mean? When Buzz Lightyear from Toy Story would be like, to infinity. Infinity. That means just keep on going. And beyond, obviously, there's no such thing as to infinity. Infinity means there's no ending point to it. It just keeps going and going and going, longer than an Energizer battery, right? So we must accept finite disappointment. Finite means there is an ending. There is an ending to the disappointment that you're going to have. So accept that. But accept what? Accept that there's going to be disappointment. Just recognize that there'll be an ending to that disappointment, right? So we must accept finite disappointment, but never lose infinite hope. Whoo! That's a bar, right? Finite disappointment, infinite hope, right? Infinite hope that you will get to where it is that you're trying to get to. Infinite hope that you will get that job. Infinite hope that you will graduate. Infinite hope that your wife and you will start to get better relations together. Infinite hope that you and your son are going to stop clashing heads with each other. Infinite hope that perhaps your marriage is going to get better. Infinite hope that the relationship that you have with your sister is going to reignite into something more beautiful than ever. Infinite hope that whatever it is, infinite hope. And you can continue to try and try and try, just like we just said, that change does not roll in on the wheels of inevitability, but comes through continuous struggle. And those struggles are going to be accepting finite disappointment, but you will not lose hope. And it's going to happen. Now, listen, all of that stuff, I'm sitting here talking to you about this, and I try to give y'all little pointers on how to do it and everything like that. And today's not going to be that day. Today, we're just going to be putting our mind state. We're going to be thinking about Martin Luther King. We're going to be honoring his name, honoring his life, right? And through his words, I'm trying to be able to apply that thought process, that mind, body, soul, spirit alignment through these words with you, right? So, all of this change that we're trying to do, all of the difficulty that comes along with the change, all of the inner strength that needs to be developed to be able to be consistent with what it is that we're doing, it's difficult. So in one of the motivational moments that I had this week, I talked about reaching out and create and having an environment to where somebody can give you good counsel, right? And sometimes we ain't in that position to. Right? You may have a relationship with somebody and really love them, right? But not being around them enough to really be able to give them advice, right? And they can be even coming to you with their problems. And you're like, man, because you don't understand the problem enough because you don't know them, right? What do I mean by that? So I'm reading 2 John, right, in the Bible. And it's a letter. 2 John and 3 John, they're two letters, right? And they're letters to somebody who's in that story. One of them is to a female, and the other, and you know, there's a story that first letter female is actually to the church, right? But then the other one is to his boy, Guy Lee or something like that. I forget what it is exactly, but it's to his boy, right? We don't understand really what's going on there. And there needs to be some sort of like filling in the blanks, right? In order to be able to really fully understand that story. But we need to be careful because when we fill in the blanks to a story, we can end up drawing a conclusion based on our assumptions, right? And you just can't really do that. So it's the same thing, is that if you're sitting there talking to a friend, talking to a loved one, and they giving you their situation, but you don't really understand the context of it, you got to make certain assumptions to be able to say something. And sometimes that can be real dangerous, right? It's because you end up drawing conclusions from your assumptions, not based on what it is that they're saying, right? So you could sit there, they could be like, oh, well, you know what I'm saying? I got this issue. And you're like, why didn't you do this? Right? Well, because in your mind, you thinking, man, that's super simple, right? I got this dude at my job who was talking about some things, and he was like, oh, you know, we trying to put this whole thing together. And he's like, well, I'm saying, why can't you just take this list and do that, right? Well, when we went back to the people who do the IT, the back end stuff inside of the computers, we started to really realize how complex that jump was. And it really wasn't just pressing a button, right? Again, because we started to draw conclusions based off of an assumption, right? So create those environments, right? Build relationships. Pablo, you keep saying build relationships. What are you talking about? Well, I'm telling you, we just finished talking about how difficult change can be and how we need to be able to accept finite disappointments, right? So how is it that we can hold on to that infinite hope? It's difficult as anything to do that by yourself. But if you can pull in some friends, right? And you never know, you might be that hope that the friend needs, right? As opposed to the friend being the hope that you need. But that's why we have that group together. You know what I mean? And we build it, iron strengthening iron, right? That's how we do it, right? So if you have someone who either A, needs help, or B, if you're that someone who needs help, don't just jump right into the helping part, because you might be making conclusions based off of assumptions, right? But what my suggestion to you is just spend time together. That's it. Spend time together and then talk. And that whole conversation might not have anything to do with the situation that you're in. It may not have anything to do with what it is that you're trying to get to. It may not have no goal, no objective. It just literally you building the relationship. I'm telling you right now, that relationship is going to gain value over time. There's going to be either trust built or trust thrown away. There's going to be respect given or respect taken. And that's how you can start to determine the level of that friendship, determine the level of that environment, and see if it's an environment where you could open yourself up, right? And be vulnerable, right? To be able to share what your situation is, and then be able to place yourself in the position to receive that wise counsel, right? I'm telling you, life is going to be messed up sometimes. Life has ups and life has downs. And obviously, we all know how to deal with the ups, right? Honestly, I could probably say we don't, because I feel like a lot of times when we got ups, we just kind of like breeze and brush right through them. We don't sit there and celebrate them enough, right? And then when we have downs, we harp on them. And we just like, oh, this is whack and blah, 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 right? So we maybe don't even know how to deal with the positives. But for the most part, we can get through it with much more ease than we can the down parts, right? And we need to have that group. We need to have that environment of people who we can talk to. You know what I mean? I'll be looking through my social medias, and I see a lot of people talking about they feeling down or they ain't on the right track and da-da-da. And listen, they reaching out. They putting it out on social media. You know what I'm saying? And I try to reach out to them like, yo, dog, talk to me. You know what I mean? I'm not saying I got the answers. You know, I'm like Kanye, you ain't got the answers, Sway. You ain't got the answers, right? And I may not have the answers. Maybe I do, right? Or maybe I have the answers as it relates to me and from my perspective. Like if I was going through what you going through, right? But it ain't my go through, it's your go through. You know what I mean? So I can only give you my perspective on it. You know what I mean? And on top of that, we need to be careful, because sometimes when I be talking, I talk like this is what you need to do. You know what I mean? So whenever and I recognize that I do that, and I tell people, listen, this is my opinion. I speak in fact statements because it's how I think, it's what I believe. So obviously I ain't gonna be sitting here telling you something that I don't think is true. But my point is you need to be careful when you're giving that counsel, because you might come off like I do sometimes, like I'm Mr. Know-it-all. You know what I'm saying? So that means I haven't cultivated that environment enough to really be able to give that advice, because if I haven't cultivated that environment enough, well, then the person who's looking for that wise counsel is not going to place themselves in the position to be able to receive that wise counsel that I have to give, that I believe I have to give, right? So don't jump right into the wise counsel. Jump right into the relationship development. You see what I'm saying? Listen, I'm almost done here, right? But I got one last quote that I want to leave you with as it relates to one of the Martin Luther King quotes, right? This is the last one. This isn't a quote yet. We need that circle, that trust circle. It could be you and one other person. It could be you and 3 other people. Whatever it is, but you need that. You need to be able to bounce off of somebody, right? And here's the reason why. Let me tell you this last quote. In the end, we will remember not the words of our enemies, but the silence of our friends. Yo, that hurts, man. Like when I think about that, that hurts, man. You know, because when your enemies, you know they your haters already. Hi, hater, I see you, right? And it may not hurt you because you already know that they haters. You know what I'm saying? So you can expect that you're gonna get smacked up by them verbally or mentally, whatever it is. They are not your friends. You see what I'm saying? They the enemies. But when you know you're going through what you're going through, and maybe you posted it on social media, and now other people know it, or maybe whenever you talk to somebody, that's kind of the only thing that you're bringing up, and it's obvious that you are going through something. The silence of our friends is deafening. I'm telling you, with relationships, everything is easier. With good relationships, with good, solid relationships that come from a place of love, I'm telling you, you can get through it all. You can get through everything. So really, that's my message for today, right? That's the message, is build those relationships, is cultivate an environment. Listen, Martin Luther King was not the only dude marching. You see what I'm saying? It was a relationship that was built, you know what I mean, within the community. And listen, there was white people marching, there was black people marching, there was men, it was a relationship within a community of people who had at least one part of that same vision or two parts of that faith, right? They might not have been in complete agreement with everything. And that's kind of like what's going on today. It's like, I don't agree with who you voted for. I don't agree with the way you raise your kids. I don't agree that you let your kids play on iPads for 7 hours of the day. I don't agree with the fact that, you know what I'm saying? Whatever. I don't agree with the fact that you don't tithe. I don't agree with the whatever. And now all of a sudden we can't be friends. Now all of a sudden we ain't got no basis to be able to talk about things, right? But however, even though I may not necessarily like the way you're raising your kids, you maybe lost your a parent or something like that, right? And so did this person. Y'all got a common bond there that y'all can build on. You know what I'm saying? Is that rather than focusing on all the things that separate us, let's focus on all the things that unite us, right? And if you're a friend, say something, be there, provide an opportunity to be able to cultivate that relationship so that the environment is ripe to be able to talk about things. And once you be able to do that, it ain't like you're just going to be talking about negative, how you fix it. But then once you can clean things up and once things are a little bit better in your life, then, right, 3 forms of maturity. Dependent, independent, and interdependent, right? Once we all can heal our hearts and our minds together, well, now we can start becoming interdependent. And really, by doing that together, by creating that environment, that is the beginning of that interdependence that we was talking about, right? So listen, that's my message for today. Be there. Don't be part of that loud, deafening silence that will be remembered from friends, right? Be there for each other. Love each other. Come from a place of gratitude and service. And that's my message, all right? Until next week, my name is Pablo Rivera, and this is Make It Happen Mondays.
And I'ma put it to work, and I'ma gauge my progress by the sign of the word. Now I ain't yet a success, but yes, the word that I stress. Cause by the time you hear the CD, count the steps that I've left. I'm passing all of you rappers, it's just a matter of time. Pick your jaw up off the floor when you admire my rhymes. A level head on my shoulders when I'm in motion, I'm focused, thoroughly thought of my plans and the execution.